Since St. Louis began as a French village in 1764, the land, which is now Lafayette Square, had been a common pasture for village livestock and had never been previously owned. These commons became an area for bands of criminals who would attack and rob travelers. On November 12, 1851, the park was dedicated as Lafayette Square by the city. By 1856, real estate developers had begun to sell lots on the western edge of the park along Mississippi Avenue. By 1858, lots on the east side of Mississippi Avenue were being sold on Park Avenue, running along the north edge of the square. The lots were developed by the 1870s.
The park boundaries were decided by 4 major streets.
When deciding to build the park, they decided to put Mississippi Avenue on the east side of the park and Missouri Avenue on the west side of the park, so people in the 1700s knew where they were in relation to the river's edge.
Maximilian Kern, from 1825 to 1916, the man who made St. Louis beautiful, designed Lafayette and Forest Park, laid out Westland and Portland Place, Compton Heights Reservation, Benton and Hyde Park, and commissioner of the 150th anniversary of M.G. Kern's appointment as superintendent of Lafayette Park, 2014.
The wrought iron fence around Lafayette Square is original to the park. It is falling down, and the Restoration Committee is raising money, privately and publicly, to restore the fence back to its original look. The park house, built in 1867 for use as a police station, now serves as an office for the Lafayette Square Restoration Committee and a police substation for the city of St. Louis. It may also be rented for private events.
In 1868, the park was embellished by a statue of Senator Thomas Hart Benton by sculptor Harriet Hosmer. This statue, when it was put in, was seen by 40,000 people. The first statue to be commissioned to Missouri, and the first female sculptor to create a sculpture, to be paid to create a sculpture here in Lafayette Square Park. A year later, through the efforts of Charles Gibson, a bronze copy of Hudson's statue of George Washington was dedicated to the park. It is one of only 6 that were ever made. A rich man lived here, bought it to put it in his front yard, and the park decided they wanted it in the park, so they convinced him to put it here where it is standing in the park.
There was a total loss of all trees in the park, but the 2 famous bronze statues of George Washington and Thomas Hart Benton were left standing and untouched by the cyclone. It took many decades for the park to recover and look as it does today. grandstand was beaten and worn by the outdoor elements, destroyed by a tornado in 1896, rebuilt but fell into disrepair and was demolished in 1951. Only the original base currently remains today in the park. The Union Station architect and designer Theodore Link designed the Met Calvary Episcopal Church at Jefferson and Lafayette Avenue. The tornado destroyed the church, and the owner could not pay back the mortgage, so the property owner, William Barr, retook possession of the land, and Barr then donated the lot to the St. Louis Public Library in 1905, and then they created the first branch library in the city of St. Louis. Barr Library is still in operations today. The Lafayette Park Methodist Episcopal Church sanctuary sustained heavy damage and was rebuilt and enlarged by using Theodore Link's designs. Even though the church was badly damaged, the roof was gone, they still held church services in the basement along with using the preschool rooms to collect and give out donations to the people of the community. The Compton Heights / Lafayette Square area took a direct hit from the powerful tornado, losing many of its structures. The view of Lafayette Avenue near Compton Avenue apparently includes the home of the notorious Arthur Dustraw, who had murdered his wife and son in it only 2 years earlier. The view looking down Mississippi Avenue south from the intersection with Park Avenue vividly shows the extent of the damage.
So many people contributed to the elements of the park to make it a family park, which it is still used for that today.
As the park was being developed for real estate to be built around the boundaries, the Civil War began. Lafayette Park was used for military drills and training grounds, and it did play a part in the Civil War. In fact, 6 Civil War prisoners of war were publicly executed here in the park. When the Civil War concluded in 1865, development went forward and the houses surrounding the park were built.
These cannons were used on a Navy ship in the Revolutionary War in battle and then were donated here to this park, Lafayette Park. Lafayette Square is St. Louis's oldest historic district and was declared a National Historic District in 1979. The neighborhood surrounding a 30-acre Victorian park, which is the oldest park west of the Mississippi River. The park exists as a centerpiece for 375 Victorian homes of French, Second Empire, Romanesque, Italianate, Queen Anne's, and Federal design. Better Homes and Garden magazine named Lafayette Square as one of the prettiest painted places in America.
Most of the houses around the park are known as the Painted Ladies for the bright colors and decorative trim around the roof line. None of the houses are exactly alike. Back in the 1800s, when these houses were being built, you had to pay taxes for every window below your roof line. So that's when the mansard roofs were invented, so you could add more windows to your house and not pay the taxes for them.
One man decided to fight for paying taxes on his house, so here's what his house looks like. The period of the greatest construction activity for the district of Second Empire-style Victorian houses was the 2 decades after the 1865. Houses were usually really big, and they had a typical design features arched windows, doorways and bay windows. And then you got the Queen Anne, which are the more modern, and then you have even more modern houses, which kind of look like today's houses. Most of the roads back then were cobblestone or brick, and so sometimes in front of houses you would see a brick or a stone to step on and a hitch for your horse because the carriages were so tall. Alright, so there is a church on Missouri Avenue and Albin Avenue. It is just down from the funeral home. It used to be a church, then it was abandoned, and then now it turned into condos and penthouses. The first floor has 8 two-bedroom apartments, and then the other floors have penthouses. Now the one in the center with the big stained glass window, it is the most expensive and largest penthouse there is, and there's only 4 on those 2 floors. During the 1890s, Theodore C. Link, architect of the Union Station, designed a house at 2031 Park Avenue and 1701 Nicholson's Place, as well as the Lafayette Park Methodist Church.
The house on 1701 Nicholson's Place is no longer in existence. Lafayette United Methodist Church, or UMC as we call it, it is still functioning as a church today and holds church services every Sunday. It is the #1 church in the city for holding weddings because of its ornate architecture. My brother and cousins are in the St. Louis Homeschool Network. They meet every other Friday at UMC and take a variety of classes taught by parents. My brother Isaac is in 5th grade and has taken biology and chemistry. He has also taken 3 robotics classes with a former NASA engineer, along with many other higher level classes that you could not take in 5th grade at a public school. The church on the corner of Lafayette Avenue and Mississippi Avenue is always changing its name. This photo was taken on April 18, 2015, and just a week earlier the church had a completely different name. Last year, St. Louis celebrated its 250th birthday, and this year, Lafayette Square Park and the neighborhood around it is celebrating its 164th birthday.